JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. January 6th, 2025. We have about 33 minutes to open. Talk really quick about some markets, some names I'm looking at. Go from there. Take a look at S&P futures rallying. NASDAQ futures up over 1%. S&P futures up about 0.85%. More, it's a continuation from Friday's move. And then you have reports out that the Trump administration is going to do more targeted tariffs, I guess, as opposed to broad-based. So who knows if that's the true catalyst, but the US dollar and yields dropped. So with that, the markets took it as a positive. So we'll have to see how today plays out. It was nice to see the S&P or the SPY close over that 50-day moving average on Friday. I put on the watch list this morning. I was talking about on a rant on Friday. It's just incredible what the difference a day makes, and that reversal on New Year's, the first trading day of 2025 looked like it was gonna be a solid start. Markets were green across the board, and then we had that huge reversal, and then to not see continuation, that's a good thing. So we'll have to see how things play out here. That 50-day moving average, if we do get some crazy reversal here today, that would be support. And then on the flip side here, I'm watching that 600 handle, and that was a spot that I had as a key support back at the end of November into December, and then that got washed out with the Fed decision. So certainly we'll be watching that. And then the small caps, and nice to see the IWM's the 225. That's a key spot. Now we'll get back into that other zone between 225 and 240, and to see small caps outperform that would be another great sign to start the year. So that's that. Also, don't forget, markets are closed for honoring Jimmy Carter. So that'll be on Thursday. We have the Fed minutes on Wednesday. I'm sure that's probably going to be an important Fed minutes because of kind of the change of tone for the Fed. So and also there was a dissenter in the vote at the last Fed meeting. So certainly will be interesting there. And then we have the January jobs report, December jobs report on Friday. And considering, again, what the Fed's kind of hawkish tone, and then the worry that maybe yield's going to not get cut as quickly, you have yields higher for longer, I guess we can go back to saying. So certainly things to watch. All right, so now individual names, and luck is when preparation meets opportunity, right? Take a look at SolarEdge this morning. It's over 18 bucks here. Finally getting that kick it needed to really get going. My concern here, it's a huge short interest, right? It's with 38% now, it's all-time high. That the shorts, they tend to get, I guess you would say, desperate. So would not be surprised to see some pressure right at the open as they try to instill kind of a sell-off or profit taking. But I mean, it looks good right now. If that doesn't happen, I mean, it's going to go over 20 bucks. So this morning there was an 8K filing. They also a press release as well talking about some credits, a deal with Run, and then they had an employee letter that they posted on their website talking about cost cutting. I got a tongue twisters today. I don't know what's wrong with me. And then, talking about some hits they will take in regards to some of the cost cutting, and then some savings they're going to see on the back end. And and then they put it at the end. This is just kind of the continuation of our plan for 2025. To me, it's all great stuff, right? It's a bankruptcy story. The only reason it's trading down here is it's debt and the bears who think it's a zero. And eventually the company is going to declare bankruptcy and be gone. If that's not going to be the case, then it's going to squeeze. It's going to be 20, 25, 30, maybe even higher. So not going to get crazy. Add any more strikes today. I'll just look to close some of my 18 calls, which are going to be in the money. I mean, if it opens here, I would assume they're going to be over $1. So I'll get out for a couple 100%, close some out just to cover costs, take some profits, and I'll ride the rest. Because again, it's going to probably be volatile. But that's the big spot I'm watching. I've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. I think 20, that's the big spot. If it breaks 20, then the sky's the limit. So that's SolarEdge. JOBY, what a day on Friday, up over 20%, multi-year highs. Last time it traded up at these levels in June and July of 2023. So now the big spot is 12. So today, we'll see if it can hold the gains from Friday, which I think will be a good sign. Maybe it gets into double digits. Looks like it almost did it here in the pre-market. And then I'll look for some April strikes. Finally, my Januaries are back to being up over 100%. So that's good as well. So when I do get the Aprils, I'll lock the last of the Januaries in and ride those. Another great story. And again, I think the more people do some research on these names, the more they say, wow, this is not only is it a great story, it's not in the early innings. It's not like it's still getting approvals and manufacturing and partnerships and all that. This is all way down. So if you talk about a 9-inning baseball game, JOBY is in like the 8th inning, right? Or maybe it's a seventh inning stretch. which as a considering the stock hasn't really taken off too much. When I say take off relative to where it was back in the fall, yeah, I mean it's almost a double here, but I think there's more to it, and I think it has double digits, 14, 16, 18 in 2025. So that's Joby. Trip, if you didn't read my little piece, I wrote a little piece on Friday, kind of outlined some of the three major reasons why I think it's undervalued here, where it's trading at $15. I think it trades up to $28, possibly 26 to 28 in 2025, probably sooner rather than later. Some of it, of course, the M&A side, then the other is the spinoff side, and then the other is the fact that they just reacquired their controlling stakeholder, Liberty TripAdvisor. So not going to go on a rant on that one. Really like this one. Hopefully, I was watching when I was on the rant on Friday talking about it closing over 15. It looked like it was going to do it in the air right near the close, and then boom, close at $14.99. Can't make that stuff up. So that's TripAdvisor. Still looking to get some calls here in Travelzoo. It's actually gapping up here this morning. Up all 4 sessions last week, despite the volatility. So good sign there, but it's kind of in a tight trading range. Seems like every time it gets near 22, it sells off. It's done it twice so far in December. Maybe January is different. Maybe it's different this time. So don't be surprised if I had some strikes there. Again, they're coming out with their new membership program. It's rolled out already. So it's just a matter of, are they able to convert their existing freemium cohort, right? If they're able to convert even at 1%, it's a 20% annual growth rate just on that alone. If it's 3%, it's 40%. You start doing the math. I mean, depends on how well it works, right? So that's Trip. Then some of my top 5 stocks. Still looking to get some positions in. EverQuote down on Friday. 200-day moving average is right at 2089. So that'll probably be a key spot. Weave Communications recouped some of Thursday's losses, up about 1%. It looks like it's consolidating between that 16, 15, 50 handle. So once that breaks, off to the races. I'll look to get some strikes. It's not going to be the fastest moving stock unless there's some kind of upgrade. And then Remitly, this is probably one of the better looking setups, and it had some great earnings back in November, so gapped, and then it's just been melting to the upside. I think once it gets over 23, I think there's levels 28. Back in 2021, I think it was $45 stock, so there's room for that one to go up. A Lemonade, I keep putting this bull flag up, but the flag is kind of long. Typically, you don't see that on a bull flag, so it's somewhat, the pattern is probably somewhat negated, but I still think it's set up for a squeeze 2.0, especially if the small caps start to run. So still like Lemonade. 42 is the big spot. If it gets over 42, I'll look for some more strikes there. United Healthcare, I played those calls again. The Lotto spec calls. I was watching Humana was up like 4.5%, and then you saw United Healthcare was barely up, but it was bouncing off the bottom. So went and got those spec calls, was able to close someone out for over 100% within about 10 minutes. I thought 520 was possible. That didn't happen, unfortunately. But to me, when you look at these stories, especially names that were headline driven, I'm not saying United Healthcare was headline driven, but I mean, how much of their business is impacted over the next year or so? There'll be some disruption, right? But with what happened in that tragic event. But to me, the longer we get away from that event, the better the possibility that it kind of gets forgotten by the investment community in the negative fashion, and then it just starts to bounce. And especially when you have a name that's a Dow component, so there's funds that are just forced to put money in. So that's kind of the premise there. Why I continue to look for UNH for some calls, and don't be surprised if I had some more strikes or lottos this week. And then last but not least, if we do get some reversal today, Intuit could be that name. Finally, it's been hanging around that 200-day moving average for the last 4 sessions. A small green session on Friday. Definitely a name I'll be watching. And Joby's up near $10 here. I'm trying to think of some of the other names. Pinto's posting out Fubo, one of my favorite names back in the day. Nice deal there. I mean, if I wasn't going to trade it down here $1, but I used to like it back when it was in much higher than that. But look, it's almost $5. Just that's great news. I'm trying to think of some of the other names this week. iRobot, right? I mean, disappointed. I was watching it Friday too. One of my favorite, one of my OG names, right? That I used to trade a lot over the years. Had some calls back in the summer as well. Maybe I had them in the fall too. But you take a look. The CEO, the new CEO back last year, made his first insider buy. It was like 12 something. So the stock hit 12.59 in the pre-market. That probably a key spot there. Anyway, that's it, folks. We got about 24 minutes to the open. I'll be back rock and roll.